Silence settles in first, not empty but heavy, like the quiet moments when your thoughts become louder than anything around you. There's a softness in the background, maybe a gentle recitation or a calm rhythm, and then a question rises, not loudly, but deeply. What if the way you see your life is the very reason you feel stuck? Not your circumstances, not your past, not even the people around you, but the lens through which you view everything. Because sometimes, the prison we feel trapped in isn't built from reality, it's built from perception. You wake up every day carrying something you can't always explain. A weight that sits quietly on your chest. You try to move forward, but it feels like you're walking through something invisible, something thick, something that slows you down. And you begin to believe that maybe this is just how life is. That being stuck is your normal. That feeling unmotivated is who you are. But what if that belief itself is the thing holding you back? Overthinking becomes your constant companion. You replay conversations, you imagine worst-case scenarios, you question your worth, your decisions, your future. And slowly, without even realizing it, your mind starts painting a picture of life that feels dark, limited, and heavy. Not because life is always that way, but because your thoughts have shaped it to feel that way. Your mind begins to filter everything through doubt and fear. And the more you think this way, the more real it feels. That's the powerful thing about mindset. It doesn't just influence how you think, it influences what you see. Two people can be in the same situation, yet one feels hope and the other feels hopelessness. The difference isn't always the situation, it's the perspective. It's the meaning they attach to what they're going through. You start telling yourself quiet stories. I'm not good enough. Things never work out for me. I always fail. These aren't just thoughts anymore, they become beliefs. And beliefs shape actions. When you believe you can't succeed, you stop trying with full effort. When you believe you're not worthy, you settle for less. And then life reflects those actions back to you, reinforcing the same belief. A cycle begins, and it feels real, permanent, unbreakable. But here's something deeply important to understand: your thoughts are not facts. Just because your mind tells you something repeatedly doesn't make it true. Sometimes your mind is simply reacting to past pain, past failures, past fears. It tries to protect you by expecting the worst. But in doing so, it traps you in a version of reality that isn't fully true. There are moments when you feel like giving up, not because you're weak, but because you're mentally exhausted. You've been fighting battles inside your own mind for so long that you've forgotten what peace feels like. And when your inner world is chaotic, everything outside starts to feel overwhelming too. Small problems feel big, delays feel like failures, silence feels like rejection. But imagine for a moment, what would change if your perspective changed? What if instead of seeing every delay as a failure, you saw it as a step in preparation? What if instead of seeing yourself as someone who always struggles, you saw yourself as someone who is learning, growing, and evolving through every challenge? The situation might stay the same, but your experience of it would completely transform. Mindset is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing how you interpret reality. It's about understanding that even in difficulty, there is meaning. Even in struggle, there is growth. When you shift your mindset, you don't magically remove problems, but you change your relationship with them. And that changes everything. There is power in becoming aware of your thoughts. In pausing and asking yourself, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Because the truth is, not every thought deserves your attention. Not every fear deserves your belief. You have the ability to step back, to question, to redirect. And that small act of awareness can slowly begin to break the cycle. You are not stuck because your life is permanently broken. You feel stuck because your mind has been telling you a story that limits you. And stories can be rewritten. Not overnight, not instantly, but gradually, intentionally, with patience. Every time you choose a better thought, a more hopeful perspective, a more balanced view, you begin to shift something inside you. So stay with this thought for a moment longer. What if the life you want isn't as far as it feels? What if the change you're waiting for doesn't start outside, but begins within the way you see yourself, your struggles, and your journey? Because sometimes, the smallest shift in mindset creates the biggest change in reality. And maybe, just maybe, this reminder reached you right now for a reason. Not by accident, not randomly, but because deep down, a part of you is ready to see things differently. Ready to let go of the weight. Ready to move forward, not with a perfect life, but with a stronger, clearer, and more hopeful mind. As the silence gently fades, something begins to settle inside you, not answers, not instant clarity, but a small awareness. The realization that maybe, just maybe, the way you've been seeing everything isn't the only way to see it. And that thought alone can feel unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, because your mind is used to its patterns. It is used to returning to the same worries, the same doubts, the same heavy interpretations of life. You've trained your mind, without even realizing it, to focus on what's missing instead of what's present. To focus on what went wrong instead of what went right. And over time, that focus becomes automatic. You don't even choose it anymore, it just happens. Like a default setting that runs in the background of your life. But what if you could change that setting? Think about how often you speak to yourself internally. The quiet voice in your mind that no one else hears. Is it kind? Is it patient? Or is it critical, harsh, and constantly reminding you of your flaws? Because the relationship you have with yourself shapes everything else. If your inner voice is always negative, it becomes difficult to see anything in a positive light. And this is where the shift begins, not outside, not in your circumstances, but within your awareness. When you start noticing your thoughts instead of blindly following them, you create a small space between you and your mind. In that space, you gain power. The power to pause, the power to choose, the power to say, this thought is not helping me, I don't need to hold on to it. It won't be easy at first. Your mind will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will remind you of past failures, past pain, past disappointments. It will whisper, nothing has changed. But change doesn't always start with visible results. Sometimes it starts quietly, internally, in the way you respond instead of react. There is something deeply transformative about choosing a different perspective, even when everything around you looks the same. Imagine facing a challenge and instead of thinking, why is this happening to me, you ask, what can this teach me? That one question shifts you from feeling like a victim to becoming someone who grows. Your struggles are not proof that you are failing. They are part of your journey. Every difficulty carries a lesson, even if you don't see it immediately. And when your mindset begins to shift, you start recognizing those lessons instead of resisting them. You begin to see that delays are not always denials, and hardships are not always punishments. There is also a quiet strength in acceptance. Not the kind that makes you give up, but the kind that allows you to stop fighting reality. Because when you constantly resist what is, you create more tension, more stress, more exhaustion. But when you accept where you are right now, you free up energy to focus on where you can go next. And slowly, things begin to feel lighter. Not because your life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your mind is no longer working against you. You begin to notice small moments of peace, small moments of clarity, small moments where you feel okay. And those moments matter more than you think. They are signs that something inside you is changing. You don't need to have everything figured out right now. You don't need to know exactly where your life is going. What matters is that you start shifting the way you see yourself and your journey. From someone who is stuck, to someone who is evolving. From someone who feels lost, to someone who is learning how to find their way. And maybe for the first time in a while, you allow yourself to believe that change is possible. Not because everything around you has changed, but because something within you has started to shift. A small spark of hope. A quiet belief that you are not as trapped as you once thought. So stay with this feeling. Don't rush past it. Let it settle. Let it grow. Because this is how transformation begins, not with a big moment, but with a small shift in the way you see everything. And that shift can lead you somewhere you never thought possible. There comes a moment, very quietly, when you start realizing that change is not something that happens to you, it's something that begins within you. Not in a dramatic way, not overnight, but in the smallest decisions you make inside your own mind. The decision to pause instead of panic. The decision to breathe instead of overthink. The decision to see possibility instead of only limitation. You begin to understand that your mind has been running on patterns for years. Patterns shaped by past experiences, by pain, by disappointment, by moments that left a mark on your heart. And without even noticing, those patterns became your default way of thinking. But patterns are not permanent. They are learned, and anything learned can be unlearned, slowly and patiently. At first, the shift feels unnatural. When your mind says, you can't do this, and you respond with, maybe I can try, it feels unfamiliar. Almost like you're going against something deeply ingrained. And that's because you are. You are stepping out of an old version of yourself that was built on fear and doubt, and stepping into a new version that is built on awareness and intention. It's important to understand that this process is not about becoming positive all the time. It's not about ignoring your struggles or pretending everything is okay. It's about balance. It's about not allowing negative thoughts to completely control your perspective. It's about giving equal, if not more, space to thoughts that empower you instead of weaken you. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning to question your thoughts. When a thought enters your mind, especially one that brings heaviness, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this absolutely true? You might be surprised how often the answer is no. Your mind can exaggerate, assume, and even distort reality based on fear. And then comes the next step, reframing, gently replacing that thought with something more balanced. Not unrealistic, not forced, but honest and supportive. Instead of, I always fail, you remind yourself, I've had failures, but I've also had moments where I succeeded. This isn't just positive thinking, this is accurate thinking. This is truth without distortion. There is also something incredibly powerful about focusing on what you can control. So much of your stress comes from trying to control outcomes, people, or situations that are simply beyond your reach. But when you shift your attention to your actions, your effort, your response, you regain a sense of stability. You feel grounded again, and with that grounding comes clarity. You start making decisions not from a place of fear, but from a place of calm awareness. You begin to take small steps forward, even if you're unsure. And those small steps matter, because progress is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's simply choosing not to give up. There will still be days when your old mindset tries to return. Days when you feel heavy again, when overthinking creeps back in, when doubt becomes loud. But this time, something is different. This time, you notice it. You don't get completely lost in it. You recognize it for what it is, a pattern, not your identity. And that awareness is your strength. Because once you become aware, you are no longer trapped in unconscious cycles. You have a choice. You can gently guide your mind back, again and again, without judgment, without frustration. Just patience, just consistency. Over time, these small shifts begin to create a new internal environment. One that feels lighter, calmer, more supportive. You begin to trust yourself a little more. You begin to believe that even if things are uncertain, you will find a way. And that belief changes how you move through life. So don't look for instant transformation. Don't expect everything to suddenly feel perfect. Instead, focus on these small, consistent changes in the way you think, the way you respond, the way you see yourself. Because that is where real transformation happens. And as you continue this journey, you'll start to realize something beautiful. You were never truly stuck. You were simply seeing yourself through a limited lens. And now, slowly but surely, that lens is changing. And with it, your entire reality begins to shift. There are moments in life that don't just challenge you, they quietly break something inside you. Moments where you tried your best and it still wasn't enough. Moments where you prayed, hoped, waited, and nothing seemed to change. And in those moments, your mindset isn't just shaped, it's shaken. You begin to question everything. Yourself, your path, even your purpose. Think about a time when you felt completely stuck. Not just physically, but emotionally. Like no matter what you did, you couldn't move forward. Maybe it was a failure, a rejection, a loss, or even just a long period of uncertainty. And slowly, without realizing it, that moment started defining how you saw your entire life. One experience became your identity. But the truth is, one moment was never meant to define you. It was meant to shape you. There is a difference. When something shapes you, it teaches you, strengthens you, and prepares you. But when it defines you, it limits you, labels you, and traps you in a version of yourself that is incomplete. There are people who have faced incredible hardships, failures that seemed final, losses that felt unbearable, and yet, they found a way to rise again. Not because their lives were easy, but because at some point, they changed the way they saw their situation. They stopped asking, why is this happening to me, and started asking, what is this preparing me for? And that shift is deeply connected to something spiritual. Because when you begin to believe that there is meaning behind your struggles, that nothing is random, that every delay, every hardship, every closed door carries wisdom, your heart begins to soften. You no longer feel like life is working against you. You begin to feel like it is guiding you, even if you don't fully understand how. There is a quiet comfort in knowing that you are not alone in what you're going through. That your struggles are seen, your pain is understood, and your efforts are not unnoticed. Even when the world feels silent, there is a deeper awareness surrounding you. And sometimes, the delay you are experiencing is not rejection, it is protection. Protection from something you cannot yet see. Reflect on the times when things didn't go your way. The plans that fell apart. The opportunities that didn't work out. At the time, it may have felt like everything was going wrong. But later, you realized that those moments redirected you. They saved you. They led you somewhere better, somewhere you couldn't have reached if everything had gone according to your plan. This is where trust begins to grow. Not a blind trust, but a deep, grounded trust that even when things feel uncertain, there is a purpose unfolding. And that trust changes your emotional state. You begin to feel less anxious about the future, less burdened by the past, and more present in the moment you are in. There is also something powerful about surrender. Not giving up, but letting go of the constant need to control everything. Because control often creates pressure. It makes you feel like everything depends entirely on you. But when you learn to do your best and then release the outcome, you free yourself from that pressure. You allow yourself to breathe again. Real life is full of stories of people who thought they were at their lowest point, only to later realize it was the turning point. The moment that forced them to grow, to reflect, to change direction. And while you may not see it now, your current struggle could be doing the same for you. It could be shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, more resilient. And maybe that's what this moment is asking from you, not perfection, not immediate success, but patience. Patience with your journey, patience with your growth, patience with yourself. Because healing, change, and transformation, they take time. And rushing the process only creates more frustration. So instead of seeing your life as something that is falling apart, try to see it as something that is coming together, even if the pieces don't make sense yet. Trust that there is a bigger picture forming, one that you cannot fully see right now. And trust that you are exactly where you need to be in this moment. Because sometimes, the deepest growth happens in the quietest struggles. The moments no one else sees. The battles you fight within yourself. And those moments, they are not wasted. They are building you, preparing you, and guiding you toward a version of yourself that is stronger than you ever imagined. And maybe, just maybe, one day you will look back at this phase of your life and realize that it was not the moment that broke you, it was the moment that changed you. A powerful mindset does not appear suddenly one morning when everything becomes easy. It is built through small choices repeated every single day. The way you think today is the result of the thoughts you have allowed, the habits you have practiced, and the beliefs you have carried for a long time. And the beautiful thing is, just as your old mindset was created, a new mindset can also be created. The first step is becoming intentional with what enters your mind. Every day, your mind receives thousands of messages, from conversations, social media, memories, fears, and opinions of others. If you constantly feed your mind negativity, comparison, and hopelessness, it becomes harder to see opportunities and possibilities. But when you begin filling your mind with wisdom, gratitude, reflection, and meaningful reminders, your perspective slowly begins to change. Start your day differently. Before you reach for your phone, before you allow the world to fill your thoughts, take a moment for yourself. Sit quietly, reflect, be grateful that you have another day, another opportunity, another chance to improve. The first thoughts you choose in the morning can influence the energy you carry throughout the day. One of the most powerful habits you can build is gratitude. Not because gratitude removes your problems, but because it changes your focus. When your mind is constantly searching for what is missing, you will always feel empty. But when you train yourself to recognize what you already have, your heart begins to feel richer. You start noticing the blessings that were always there but were hidden behind your worries. Another important practice is learning to control your self-talk. Pay attention to the words you use when you speak to yourself. Would you talk to someone you love the way you talk to yourself? Would you tell them they are worthless, hopeless, or incapable? Probably not. So why give yourself words that destroy your confidence? Speak to yourself with honesty, but also with kindness. When you make a mistake, don't turn it into an identity. There is a difference between saying, "I made a mistake," and saying, "I am a failure." The first statement recognizes an action. The second attacks who you are. A mistake can be corrected. A lesson can be learned. A setback can become a stepping stone. Another habit that transforms your mindset is learning to focus on small progress. Many people become discouraged because they only look at the final destination. They want immediate change, immediate success, immediate results. But every great transformation begins with small steps. One page read, one healthy choice made, one difficult task completed, one negative thought replaced with a better one. Small actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but they are powerful because they create evidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust with yourself. Every time you take action despite fear, you prove that fear does not control you. Slowly, your identity begins to change from someone who struggles to someone who keeps moving forward. It is also important to protect your mental space. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves your emotional energy. Not every situation requires a reaction. Sometimes maturity is knowing what to ignore. Sometimes strength is choosing peace over proving yourself to everyone. Create moments of silence in your daily life. In a world filled with constant noise, silence becomes a place where you reconnect with yourself. Walk without distractions. Reflect on your thoughts. Spend time remembering what truly matters. When you slow down, you begin hearing the things your busy mind usually hides. And for those who believe in Allah, this journey of changing your mindset is deeply connected with strengthening your relationship with Him. When your heart remembers that Allah knows your struggles, sees your efforts, and understands your pain, you stop carrying every burden alone. You begin replacing fear with trust, anxiety with patience, and hopelessness with hope. Remember that changing your mindset does not mean you will never feel sadness, fear, or uncertainty again. You are human. Difficult emotions are part of life. The goal is not to remove every struggle, but to become stronger when facing them. A peaceful mind is not a mind without problems, it is a mind that knows how to respond to problems. So begin today with something simple. Choose one thought you want to change. Choose one habit you want to build. Choose one small action that moves you closer to the person you want to become. Do not underestimate small beginnings. Mountains are climbed one step at a time. Because every day you have a choice. You can continue believing the same thoughts that keep you trapped, or you can begin creating thoughts that help you grow. You can continue living according to your fears, or you can start walking according to your potential. Your mindset is not fixed. Your story is not finished. The way you see your life today does not have to be the way you see it forever. With patience, awareness, and consistent effort, the way you think can change, and when your thinking changes, the way you experience life begins to change too. There is a battle that many people fight every single day, but very few people talk about it. It is the battle happening inside the mind. The invisible struggle between hope and fear, confidence and doubt, peace and anxiety. Sometimes the biggest obstacle standing between you and the life you want is not something outside of you, it is the voice inside your own mind telling you that you cannot move forward. Negative thinking often begins quietly. It does not always appear as a huge fear or a dramatic thought. Sometimes it starts with a small sentence, maybe I'm not capable. Maybe things will never change. Maybe I'm too far behind. And if those thoughts are repeated long enough, they begin to feel like truth. But a thought becoming familiar does not mean it is accurate. Your mind has a natural tendency to protect you. Sometimes it tries to prepare you for disappointment by expecting the worst. It tells you not to try because failure might hurt. It tells you not to hope because disappointment feels painful. But what your mind sees as protection can sometimes become a prison. Fear can become the reason you never discover what you are truly capable of. Think about all the opportunities you may have avoided because of fear. Conversations you never had, goals you never pursued, changes you never made, not because you lacked ability, but because your mind convinced you that the risk was too great. And years later, the pain of wondering, what if, can become heavier than the fear you were trying to avoid. The truth is, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward while fear exists. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has experienced uncertainty. They have felt nervous. They have questioned themselves. The difference is not that they never felt fear. The difference is that they refused to let fear make every decision for them. One of the most powerful things you can do is stop treating every negative thought as a command. A thought is simply information passing through your mind. You do not have to obey every thought you have. You can observe it. You can question it. You can choose whether it deserves your energy. When your mind says, I can't, ask yourself, have I truly tried, or am I just afraid? When your mind says, it's impossible, ask, is it impossible, or is it just difficult? These small questions create space between you and your fears. And in that space, you begin to regain control. Sometimes negative thinking comes from comparing your journey with someone else's. You look at another person's success and only see the result, not the struggle behind it. You see their achievements but not their sacrifices. You see their confidence but not the battles they fought to build it. Comparison steals your peace because it makes you judge your beginning against someone else's middle. Your journey has its own timing. Your growth has its own process. A seed does not become a tree overnight, and a person does not transform in a single moment. Growth requires patience. It requires consistency. It requires accepting that becoming better is a journey, not a destination. There is also a deep spiritual lesson in overcoming fear. When your heart is connected to Allah, you begin to understand that your future is not controlled by your worries. Your fears may feel powerful, but they are not greater than Allah's plan. The things you cannot control are already known by the one who controls everything. Sometimes you are carrying anxiety about tomorrow while Allah has already written what will happen. You are exhausting yourself trying to predict every outcome while Allah is inviting you to trust Him. This does not mean you stop making effort. It means you make effort with faith, and you leave the results to Allah. Look at the stories of those who came before us. Many faced moments where there seemed to be no way forward. They experienced fear, hardship, and uncertainty. Yet they continued because they trusted that difficulty was not the end of their story. Their strength came not from having a perfect life, but from having a heart connected to something greater than their circumstances. Your fear is not proof that you are weak. Sometimes fear appears because you are standing at the edge of growth. The things that challenge you often reveal the parts of yourself that need to become stronger. The uncomfortable moments are often where the greatest transformation begins. So when negative thoughts come, do not fight them with anger. Meet them with awareness. Replace them with better thoughts. Remind yourself of your past victories. Remember the difficulties you survived. Remember the moments you thought you could not handle, but somehow you did. You have already overcome things you once thought were impossible. You have already carried burdens you thought were too heavy. That means there is strength inside you that you may not fully recognize yet. The goal is not to create a mind that never struggles. The goal is to create a mind that knows how to return to peace. A mind that can experience difficulty without losing hope. A heart that can face uncertainty while still believing that something better can come. Because the moment you stop allowing fear to control your choices, your life begins to expand. The moment you stop believing every negative thought, your possibilities begin to grow. And the moment you change the way you see yourself, you begin walking toward the person you were always meant to become. There is a moment in every person's journey when they realize something important. Waiting to feel ready is one of the biggest reasons people remain stuck. Many people believe confidence comes first and action comes afterward. They think, when I feel confident, I will start. When I feel motivated, I will change. When I believe in myself, I will take the step. But the truth is often the opposite. Confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence is something you build through action. Every time you do something difficult, every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you choose discipline over comfort, you send a message to your own mind, I can trust myself. And that trust is the foundation of self-belief. You don't build confidence by only thinking positive thoughts. You build it by proving to yourself, through your actions, that you are capable of growth. Think about a person learning a new skill. In the beginning, they are uncomfortable. They make mistakes. They feel uncertain. They may even question whether they are good enough. But with repetition, patience, and effort, something changes. What once felt impossible starts becoming natural. The skill was not created by waiting for confidence. It was created by showing up consistently. The same applies to your life. Becoming the best version of yourself is not about becoming a completely different person overnight. It is about improving small parts of yourself every day. A better thought, a better choice, a better response, a stronger habit. These small improvements may seem invisible in the moment, but over time they create a completely different person. Discipline is the bridge between the person you are today and the person you want to become. Motivation can disappear, feelings can change. Some days you will feel inspired, and other days you will feel tired. But discipline is what keeps you moving even when emotions are not supporting you. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because they are searching for dramatic change. They want one powerful moment that transforms everything. But real transformation usually happens quietly. It happens when you choose to wake up and try again. It happens when you continue even after a setback. It happens when nobody is watching, but you still choose what is right for your growth. Your future is built by the decisions you repeat. The habits you practice today become the person you become tomorrow. If you repeatedly choose comfort, your comfort zone becomes stronger. But if you repeatedly choose growth, your confidence becomes stronger. Every decision is a vote for the person you are becoming. There will be days when you fail, days when you lose focus, days when you return to old habits. But failure does not erase your progress. A difficult day does not mean you are back at the beginning. It simply means you are human. The important thing is not whether you fall, it is whether you are willing to stand back up. One of the biggest mistakes people make is judging themselves based on their worst moments. They remember their failures but forget their efforts. They remember their weaknesses but ignore their improvements. But growth requires you to see yourself completely. You are not only your mistakes. You are also your determination, your patience, your lessons, and your ability to keep going. Self-belief grows when you stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. Your value does not depend on constant approval from people. People's opinions change, circumstances change, success and failure come and go. But your commitment to becoming better, that is something you carry with you. For those who seek closeness to Allah, self-improvement is not only about worldly success. It is also about becoming a person with a stronger heart, better character, and deeper faith. Every effort you make to improve yourself can become an act of worship when your intention is to become better and use your abilities in a meaningful way. Allah does not ask you to become perfect overnight. What matters is your effort, your sincerity, and your willingness to keep returning and improving. A small step taken consistently is powerful. A small act done with sincerity can carry great value. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting until you feel completely confident. Begin with what you have. Begin where you are. Take one small step today that your future self will thank you for. Remember, the strongest people are not those who never struggle. They are the ones who struggle and continue anyway. They are the ones who fall and rise again. They are the ones who choose growth even when comfort is easier. The person you want to become is not created in one big decision. They are created through thousands of small choices made every day. Every time you choose discipline, you move closer. Every time you choose courage, you grow stronger. Every time you choose faith over fear, you become a better version of yourself. Your story is still being written. Your potential is still unfolding. And the person you dream of becoming is not far away. It is being built through the choices you make today. There is a hidden weight many people carry every day, the weight of the past. Memories of mistakes, regrets, disappointments, and moments they wish they could change. Sometimes the past becomes so powerful that it starts controlling the present. You are physically living today, but emotionally you are still trapped in yesterday. You replay old conversations in your mind. You remember the choices you made and wonder, what if I had done things differently? You think about opportunities you missed, people you lost, and moments where you believe you failed. And slowly, the past starts convincing you that your future will look exactly like your history. But your past is not your identity. Your past is a chapter of your story, not the entire book. A mistake you made does not define who you are forever. A difficult season you went through does not mean your entire life will be filled with difficulty. The person you were yesterday does not limit the person you can become tomorrow. Sometimes we hold on to pain because we believe carrying it means we are remembering what happened. But healing does not mean forgetting. Healing means accepting that something happened, learning from it, and choosing not to allow it to control your future. Imagine carrying a heavy bag everywhere you go. At first, you may not notice the weight because you have carried it for so long. But every step becomes harder. Every journey becomes more exhausting. That is what emotional pain can become when you refuse to release it. The weight becomes familiar, but familiar does not mean healthy. You cannot change what already happened. You cannot return to yesterday and make a different choice. But you can choose what meaning you give that experience today. You can choose to see your past as proof that you are broken, or you can see it as proof that you survived something difficult. The strongest people are not those who have never been hurt. They are those who have been hurt and still chose to heal. They are those who experienced disappointment and still chose to hope. They are those who face darkness but refuse to let darkness become their identity. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You may forgive others for their mistakes, but you continue punishing yourself for yours. You remind yourself of what you did wrong, what you should have done, and what you could have changed. But constantly punishing yourself does not create growth. Understanding does. A better question is not, why did I make that mistake, but, what can I learn from that mistake? Because wisdom often comes from experiences we wish we never had. Some lessons only become visible after pain. Some strength only develops after struggle. For those who turn to Allah, there is a beautiful reminder: your mistakes are never greater than Allah's mercy. No matter how far someone feels they have fallen, the door of returning is always open. The past may be heavy, but Allah's forgiveness is greater. A person's story can change the moment they sincerely decide to return, improve, and move forward. Look at the stories of those who faced hardship and transformation. Many people were not defined by their lowest moments. They were defined by how they responded afterward. A person's greatness is not measured by never making mistakes. It is measured by their willingness to learn, repent, grow, and continue. Creating a new identity begins with changing the way you speak about yourself. Stop saying, I am someone who always fails. Start saying, I am someone who is learning. Stop saying, I am damaged because of what happened. Start saying, I am healing and becoming stronger because of what I experienced. Your words matter because they influence the way you see yourself. The story you repeat about yourself becomes the story you begin to live. If you constantly remind yourself of your weaknesses, you will struggle to recognize your potential. But if you remind yourself of your ability to grow, you create space for transformation. Letting go of the past does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing old pain to steal new opportunities. It means you give yourself permission to experience happiness again. It means you allow yourself to believe that better days can exist. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of healing. A version that is calmer, wiser, stronger, and more grateful. But you cannot become that person while constantly fighting the person you used to be. So today, make peace with your journey. Appreciate the lessons. Forgive yourself for not knowing what you know now. You were growing, you were learning, you were becoming. The past may have shaped you, but it does not have the authority to control you. Your future is still open. Your story is still being written. And the next chapter can be completely different from the ones that came before. Because sometimes the greatest transformation happens when you finally stop asking, why was I hurt, and start asking, how can I use what I went through to become stronger? There is a kind of peace that many people search for their entire lives. They look for it in achievements, possessions, recognition, and the approval of others. They believe that once they reach a certain point, once everything becomes perfect, then they will finally feel calm. But many discover that peace does not come from having a perfect life. Peace comes from having a balanced heart and a steady mind even when life is imperfect. Life will always have moments of uncertainty. There will be days when things do not go according to your plans. There will be situations you cannot control, people who disappoint you, and moments that test your patience. If your peace depends completely on everything going your way, then your peace will always be fragile. But when your peace comes from within, difficulties may shake you, but they will not completely break you. One of the greatest skills you can develop is learning how to control your emotions instead of allowing your emotions to control you. Emotions are powerful, and they are a natural part of being human. Feeling sadness, anger, fear, or disappointment does not make you weak. The problem begins when every emotion becomes a decision maker in your life. Sometimes anger tells you to say things you will regret. Fear tells you to give up before you even try. Sadness tells you that your situation will never improve. But emotions are temporary waves. They rise, and they fall. You do not have to act on every feeling that appears inside you. A peaceful person is not someone who never feels pain. A peaceful person is someone who has learned how to carry pain without allowing it to destroy their heart. They understand that difficult emotions are visitors, not permanent residents. They allow themselves to feel, but they do not allow those feelings to define their entire reality. Think about a storm. When a storm arrives, the sky becomes dark, the wind becomes strong, and everything feels chaotic. But the storm does not last forever. Eventually, the clouds move, the wind becomes calm, and the sky clears again. Your emotions are similar. A difficult moment may feel overwhelming, but it is still only a moment. One of the most important habits for inner peace is learning to pause. Before reacting, pause. Before responding, pause. Before allowing a negative thought to take control, pause. In that small space between what happens and how you respond, there is your power. That pause allows wisdom to enter before emotion takes over. Balance also comes from understanding what deserves your energy. Many people exhaust themselves worrying about things they cannot change. They spend hours thinking about other people's opinions, future possibilities, and situations outside their control. But peace begins when you focus your energy on what you can actually influence. You can control your effort. You can control your attitude. You can control how you treat others. You can control whether you continue learning and improving. But you cannot control every outcome. Accepting this reality does not make you powerless, it makes you free. For those who seek closeness to Allah, true inner peace comes from remembering that this world was never designed to be perfect. Difficulties are part of the journey. The heart finds stability when it understands that Allah is always aware, always near, and always knowing what you are experiencing. There are moments when you feel like nobody understands your struggle. Moments when your pain feels invisible. But Allah knows the thoughts you never say out loud, the tears you hide from others, and the battles you fight silently. This awareness creates a deep comfort that no worldly achievement can replace. A heart connected to Allah learns a different kind of patience. It does not mean the person never feels sadness. It means they know where to return when sadness comes. They know where to place their worries. They know that even when they cannot see the path ahead, they are not walking alone. Creating inner peace also requires taking care of your daily environment. What you consume affects your thoughts. The conversations you have, the content you watch, and the people you surround yourself with all influence your emotional state. Protecting your heart is not selfish, it is necessary. Make time for reflection. Make time for gratitude. Make time for silence. In a world that constantly demands your attention, choosing moments of stillness is a form of strength. Sometimes the answers you are searching for become clearer when you finally slow down enough to listen. Remember, peace is not created when every problem disappears. Peace is created when you become stronger than the problems you face. It is created when your mind learns calmness, your heart learns trust, and your soul learns surrender. You do not need to have everything figured out today. You do not need to solve your entire future in one moment. Take life one step at a time. Focus on today's responsibilities. Trust that tomorrow will come with its own guidance. The journey toward inner peace is not about becoming someone who never struggles. It is about becoming someone who knows how to return to balance after every struggle. And slowly, you begin to notice a beautiful change. The same situations that once controlled your emotions no longer have the same power over you. You become calmer, you become more patient, you become more aware, because true strength is not found in controlling everything around you. True strength is found in controlling yourself, trusting Allah, and carrying your heart with wisdom through every season of life. There comes a moment in life when you begin to understand that happiness is not only about what happens to you, but about how you choose to see what happens to you. Two people can experience the same situation, face the same difficulty, and yet walk away with completely different feelings. One person sees only loss, while another discovers a lesson. One sees only hardship, while another finds a hidden blessing. The difference is perspective. Your perspective is like a window through which you see the world. If that window is covered with fear, negativity, and disappointment, even beautiful moments can become difficult to recognize. But when you begin cleaning that window with gratitude, patience, and faith, you start seeing things you were unable to see before. Many times, we focus so much on what we do not have that we forget to appreciate what is already in our hands. We chase the next achievement, the next opportunity, the next destination, believing that peace is waiting somewhere in the future. But while searching for what is coming next, we overlook the blessings that are already surrounding us. Think about the simple things that often go unnoticed. The ability to wake up and experience another day. The people who care about you. The moments of laughter. The lessons you learn from difficult experiences. The strength you discovered during times when you thought you could not continue. These things may seem ordinary, but they are not guaranteed. Sometimes we only recognize the value of a blessing after we lose it. Wisdom is learning to appreciate what you have before life forces you to realize its importance. Gratitude does not mean ignoring your struggles. It does not mean pretending everything is perfect. You can be going through a difficult season and still find reasons to be thankful. In fact, gratitude becomes even more powerful during hardship because it reminds your heart that difficulty is not the only thing that exists. A person who only focuses on problems begins to feel like life is only problems. But a person who searches for blessings begins to notice that even difficult chapters contain moments of mercy. The situation may not have changed, but their heart has changed. Sometimes the blessing is hidden inside the struggle itself. A disappointment may teach you patience. A closed door may protect you from something harmful. A delay may prepare you for something better. A difficult experience may develop strength, wisdom, and compassion that you could never have gained through comfort alone. There are things you once prayed for that you now have. There are challenges you once thought would destroy you that you eventually overcame. There are moments when you believed everything was falling apart, but later you realized Allah was guiding you towards something better. This is why perspective matters so much. When you believe every hardship is a punishment, your heart becomes heavy. But when you understand that every situation can carry wisdom, your heart becomes more peaceful. You begin looking for lessons instead of only looking for pain. For those who trust in Allah, gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a way of living. It is recognizing that every blessing comes from Him and every test carries knowledge that we may not understand immediately. The believer's heart finds balance because it knows that both ease and difficulty have meaning. Sometimes Allah changes your situation. Sometimes He changes your heart while you are still in the same situation. And sometimes the greatest transformation is not when the problem disappears, but when you become stronger, wiser, and more connected to Him while facing it. Stop measuring your life only by what you have achieved. Measure it also by how much you have grown. Measure it by the patience you developed, the lessons you learned, the kindness you gained, and the strength you discovered. Your life does not have to be perfect for you to be grateful. Your journey does not have to be complete for you to appreciate the present moment. There is beauty in the process. There is wisdom in the waiting. There is growth happening even when you cannot see it. The mind that constantly searches for what is wrong will always find something to complain about. But the heart that searches for blessings will always find reasons to be thankful. So today, change the question you ask yourself. Instead of asking, why is my life not the way I want it to be, ask, what blessings am I failing to notice? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, ask, what is this teaching me? Because sometimes the biggest change in your life does not come from changing everything around you. It comes from changing the way you look at everything around you. And when your perspective changes, your entire experience changes. The same life that once felt heavy begins to feel meaningful. The same journey that once felt confusing begins to feel guided. And the same challenges that once felt impossible begin to become reminders of your strength. A grateful heart sees light even in difficult seasons. A patient heart finds peace even during uncertainty. And a heart connected to Allah understands that every moment of life carries a purpose, even the moments that are difficult to understand. Let this be the beginning of a new mindset. A mindset filled with gratitude instead of constant complaint. A mindset filled with trust instead of endless fear. A mindset that understands every challenge can become a source of growth. Ya Allah, calm our hearts when they feel overwhelmed. Ya Allah, remove the worries that are heavy upon us. Ya Allah, replace our sadness with peace, our fear with trust, and our weakness with strength. Ya Allah, forgive our mistakes, guide our hearts, and help us become better people. Ya Allah, protect us from thoughts that take us away from hope. Fill our hearts with your remembrance and make us among those who rely upon you in every situation. Ya Allah, heal the hearts that are silently hurting. Bring comfort to those who feel lost. Open doors for those who feel trapped. Give patience to those who are waiting and strength to those who are struggling. Ameen. Remember this final message. The way you see your life can change your entire life. Your past does not own you. Your fears do not control you. Your struggles do not define you. You are still growing. You are still learning. You are still becoming. So keep moving forward with faith. Keep believing that better days can come. Keep trusting that Allah's plan is greater than anything you can imagine. And if this reminder touched your heart, do not let it end here. Share it with someone who may need these words today. Subscribe for more reminders that bring peace, hope, and reflection into your life. Because sometimes one reminder at the right moment can change the way someone sees everything. May Allah fill your heart with peace, guide your steps, and make your journey beautiful. Ameen.